These are the moments that turn 60 Minutes from most trusted to fake news.
The story will continue in a moment.
60 Minutes launched on September 24, 1968. The first hosts, Mike Wallace and Harry Reasoner, introduced it.
It's a kind of a magazine for television.
The show's creator, Don Hewitt, had a simple motto for his team.
Tell me a story. And learn how to tell them a story, and you'll be a success.
For decades, it was America's most watched news program, reaching tens of millions of viewers every Sunday. Legendary anchors would ask tough questions to presidents of both parties, from Gerald Ford to Bill Clinton. Fast forward to 2004, and the first cracks begin to show. Dan Rather aired secret memos that claimed George W. Bush ducked Vietnam duty. As it turns out, the documents were fake. They were typed in Microsoft Word, not a 70s typewriter. CBS yanked the story, Rather apologized, and top producers were fired.
The failure of CBS News to do just that, to properly, fully scrutinize the documents and their source, led to our airing the documents when we should not have done so. It was a mistake. CBS News deeply regrets it. Also, I want to say personally and directly, I'm sorry.
Then in 2013, the show's report on Benghazi featured a hero who said he fought terrorists that night. Turns out he hadn't even been there.
They were forced to fight their way out before they could find the ambassador. Not long afterwards, Morgan Jones scaled the 12-foot-high wall of the compound that was still overrun with Al-Qaeda fighters.
One guy saw me. He just shouted. I couldn't believe that he'd seen me because it was so dark. He started walking towards me.
And as he was coming closer,
as I got closer, just hit him with the butt of the rifle in the face.
Within weeks, correspondent Laura Logan was forced to admit,
we were wrong.
But those screw-ups were nothing compared to what happened in 2020. So this is where 60 Minutes really alienated a lot of their viewers. In October 2020, Donald Trump sat down with Lesley Stahl for an interview. By this time, the story of Hunter Biden's laptop had broken in the New York Post, the laptop with emails showing Biden family corruption. The mainstream media mostly ignored or dismissed the laptop story, and 60 Minutes did the exact same. During the interview, Trump brought up what he called
The biggest scandal out there.
Lesley Stahl flatly refused to even discuss it. She insisted,
it can't be verified.
You want to talk
I'm
about
telling
insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie.
Can't be verified.
In the end, Trump was so frustrated he ended the interview early.
I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
To most, this was proof that 60 Minutes and CBS were interfering with the election by sweeping the laptop under the rug. In a twist of irony, 2 years later, CBS News finally admitted the truth. In November 2022, with the election long over, CBS's own Catherine Herridge obtained a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop data. They had independent forensic analysis examine it.
The laptop data we had analyzed showed no evidence it was faked or tampered with.
The delay was so embarrassing that CBS got tarred and feathered in the press for taking 25 months to do what some called actual journalism. For many viewers, especially on the right, this was the nail in the coffin. 60 Minutes had sacrificed its integrity to protect its preferred candidate, only to quietly concede the truth much later. With Trump out of office, you'd think 60 Minutes might try to rebuild balance. Think again. In October 2023, as global crises brewed, 60 Minutes scored a sit-down with President Joe Biden. It aired on October 15th, 2023, hosted by Scott Pelley. Instead of a grilling, viewers saw what can only be described as a softball interview. Pelley's tone was gentle. Many questions felt scripted to make Biden look good. Pelley even opened by saying,
"It had been a rough week, and we could see it on him."
And meanwhile, this is how that last Trump interview started.
Are you ready for some tough questions?
They framed Biden as a tired, sympathetic figure while treating Trump like a villain on trial. The interview focused on topics like the Israel-Hamas war and Ukraine, but Pelley never pressed hard on Biden's failures or the brewing scandals around his son. The contrast with how they handled Trump was stark. President Trump himself ripped 60 Minutes afterward. He posted on Truth Social,
They just interviewed crooked Joe Biden and led him along like a lost child. Each question contained the answer and was so weakly and apologetically asked that it was a joke which should be considered a campaign contribution.
Once again, 60 Minutes showed its bias. It was painfully obvious that Biden was getting a pass. The brand that once prided itself itself on tough interviews had become a pillow fort for the left. The final straw came during the 2024 election. In early October 2024, 60 Minutes aired what should have been a routine interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, but it turned into a scandal. Here's what happened. Harris gave a rambling, word salad answer to a question about the Israel-Hamas war during the taped interview. Earlier that day on Face the Nation, CBS had aired a clip of Harris struggling through a long-winded response about Israel. Safe to say it wasn't her finest moment. Yet when 60 Minutes aired their edited version of the interview that next night, Harris's answer was magically concise and coherent. The show cut out the meandering parts and served up a neat little soundbite.
The work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles. Well, let's start with this. On this subject, the aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And I think that is the most recent example of why what we do to assist in their defense around military aid is important. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents, Iran, I think that it is without any question our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks. Now, the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
You can imagine that Donald Trump and his team were not going to let the Harris editing incident slide, and they didn't. In the final days of the 2024 campaign, Trump filed a massive lawsuit against CBS and parent company Paramount. Initially, he sued for $10 billion, alleging that the 60 Minutes Harris interview was deceptively edited to boost his opponent, essentially election interference. After Trump won the election, he doubled down and amended the lawsuit to demand $20 billion in damages. He was that confident the edit was malicious. He even called it
the biggest broadcasting scandal in history.
CBS, for its part, dismissed the suit as meritless and figured it would get thrown out. But here's the thing. Trump was president again, and his administration held the leverage. Paramount Global, CBS's parent company, needed government approval for a huge merger deal in 2025. And guess who had the influence over that? The Trump-controlled FCC. This was a high-stakes game of chicken. Trump essentially was saying, you messed with the election by editing that interview, I want a reckoning. He filed the case in a Texas court and made sure CBS knew he was serious. By April 2025, the heat on 60 Minutes was unbearable. Trump's lawsuit was moving forward, the FCC was circling, and CBS had started quiet settlement talks. Then came the internal shock. Bill Owens, the executive producer of 60 Minutes, abruptly resigned. Owens was only the third person to ever hold that job in the show's 50-plus-year history. According to the Los Angeles Times, insiders said he was frustrated with growing pressure from Paramount Global, CBS's parent company, which was desperate to get approval for its Skydance merger. Owens reportedly felt the company was ready to trade editorial independence to avoid further legal trouble with Trump, and rather than stay and play along, he walked. Inside 60 Minutes, the mood turned cold. This was no longer about journalism, it was about politics, power, and corporate survival. With their leader gone and a potential settlement looming, one thing was clear: 60 Minutes was on the verge of giving in like never before. And then it happened. In July 2025, Paramount folded. They reached a settlement with President Trump to end the lawsuit over the Harris interview. The settlement was $16 million. No apology, no admission of wrongdoing, but a check was indeed cut. After years of bias, the network had finally faced real consequences. By mid-2025, 60 Minutes is barely recognizable. Trust in mainstream media is at a historic low. Only 31% of Americans say they have any confidence in outlets like CBS News. Among Republicans, that number is just 12%, meaning nearly 9 in 10 don't trust them. This is what happens when 60 Minutes spends years attacking Trump, bending over backwards for liberals, and editing reality. They finally hit a point where people stopped listening and stopped watching. But the story doesn't end with that $16 million settlement. As I was working on this video, a few new things happened. First, the well-deserved firing of Stephen Colbert. Days after the check cleared and Paramount finally got its Skydance merger, CBS announced it was pulling the plug on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the same guy who slandered Trump night after night. Colbert called the settlement a big fat bribe. And boom, he gets canned while the merger moves forward. Trump hopped on True Social bragging,
I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next, has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show.
Makes you wonder if part of the deal was lose the unfunny comedian or lose the merger. Then Hollywood tried a swing, but they missed. South Park finally aired its long-teased 27th season, but it was nothing but small jokes and a scene with Trump literally in bed with Satan. When your comedy relies on the same old punchlines, it shows who's really out of ideas. It's a shame because I love South Park and I actually think Matt and Trey handled making fun of Trump pretty well back when Mr. Garrison was Trump, but this wasn't it. Bottom line, CBS paid up, late night lost its most annoying comedian, and pop culture's attacks are getting lazier by the day. Thank you for watching.